And I just realized that nearly all of my books are blue because apparently I have a color code thing. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Bean here. And since we're all still stuck here in quarantine, and I know that basically the entire world is quarantined right now, I know it's for everybody's safety. What I am here to talk about today is I'm going to talk about some series that I think we should all be binging right now. So basically, I'm going to go through 3 different categories. I have 2 adult series that I think people should binge. I have several YA series, and then I have a couple middle grade series, or classics, whatever you want to call them, that I think you all should try binging right now because it's the perfect time to escape into a new plane of existence. And how better to do that than with books? So I'm going to jump right into it because I have quite a few books here that I'm going to be recommending. All of these I have read, at least the first one, if not the entire series, or if I haven't finished the series, I have heard nothing but good things about it. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the adult books and then move on from there. The first series I'm going to talk about is actually a series that I've been talking about a little bit more lately, and it's because I'm currently reading it, and that is The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman. Now, this series so far is 6 books. I am currently reading book number 4, and I absolutely love this series. For those of you who don't know, this series follows Irene, who is a professional librarian, but that's a librarian with a capital L because she works for the library. And now the library is an interdimensional library that collects important works from different dimensions of our world. And basically each dimension has different balances of chaos versus good and magic and steampunk. And basically Irene and her apprentice Kai, they basically try to pick up all of these different books that they're supposed to, but they're also trying to prevent worlds from falling into chaos. So it does deal with some politics, it does deal with that, but I absolutely love this series, and honestly, this would be my dream job right here, is to work at the Invisible Library. So highly recommend this one. I know that the 7th book is coming out at the end of this year, I believe. So I'm not sure how long the series is going to be, but there's plenty of reading material for you to get into. Highly recommend this one. The next series is another one that no one should be surprised about, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Now, I don't talk a lot about this one because I read this one back when it first came out, which was eons ago, basically, and you have seen I have had them right here behind me the entire time that I've been filming at my place, so that's fun. So this book follows Cal, who is another interworld traveler, and he can travel between 3 different versions of London. We have Black London, Red London, and White London, I believe. I really need to reread this series. V.E. Schwab is brilliant at creating fantastical worlds, and any of her writing, I can't recommend it enough, because she is so brilliant, she is funny, and all of her characters are so classic and great. And this book is part of a trilogy. It is the first one in the trilogy, and it is a completed series, so you can binge right through that entire thing. Alright, I'm going to move on to my middle grade books, or the books that are technically classified as middle grade. The first one, this is why I'm starting here, because this is somewhere between adult and middle grade, I'm not sure. But that's The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I love these versions that I found. Oh my gosh, they're so pretty. Basically, I have been binging the movies, the Hobbit movies, and then the Lord of the Rings movies. Actually, I did Lord of the Rings first. Don't judge me. But the extended editions, of course, because I'm like that. But The Hobbit follows Frodo... No, it doesn't. The Hobbit follows Bilbo Baggins as he goes on a quest with a dwarf of dwarfs and a wizard as they try to get the dwarves' homeland back. The trilogy that kind of follows The Hobbit is the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and now that is another one I would recommend. I do recommend reading The Hobbit first. This is a classic. This is one that I read years ago, and actually for our book club, we will be reading this one, I believe, at the end of this year. I still would really like to read it sooner, so I might do a little readathon this summer where I read all 4 of the books, because they're just so pretty and they're such classics. And I'm really just in a solid Lord of the Rings mood lately, so I'm not going to fight it. The next book should come as absolutely no surprise to anybody. That's Harry Potter. I don't know what I have to tell you about Harry Potter. This is my Hufflepuff edition, but if you haven't read Harry Potter, go read Harry Potter. Like, this is the perfect time to read Harry Potter. And these books are amazing, so just go read it. And the last middle grade series is one that I feel like more people should be talking about, and that's Eragon by Christopher Paolini. And now this is I think there's 4 books in this series. I don't remember. I only have 2 of them. I'm collecting the special editions, and I love them. They're so much fun. Eragon is one of those books that actually introduced me to dragons and the fantastical genre, really. Eragon follows a boy named Eragon who finds a blue stone and learns later that is actually a dragon egg, and that dragon hatches and bonds to him, and suddenly he becomes a dragon rider, which everyone thought were to be extinct. And it is a longer series, but it is captivating. These are one sitting read books, or maybe like a weekend, because they are so well done. When I was in school, Christopher Paolini, not long after this book came out, he actually came and talked to our school about writing and his writing process, and it was amazing to listen to. So I highly recommend this series for personal reasons, as well as because this series is just great. There's dragons, and they talk in your head. I mean, who doesn't want that? All right, and now we're moving on to YA novels. I'm going to kind of speed through these because I don't want to spend forever on these books. The next book that I'm going to recommend is going to be The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. This is a completed trilogy with a prequel coming out, I believe, in May, so next month, which is pretty exciting. But The Hunger Games is all about revolution, and I don't want to spoil much of it, but the majority of people do know what this is about. This follows a world, I believe it's set in a dystopian United States sort of area where the country is divided into 10 separate areas. Each area specializes in a certain task, such as mining or agriculture or something of the sort. And they're all ranked by their wealth. And our main character, Katniss, comes from the lowest class, and when her sister is picked to participate in the Hunger Games, which are a fight to the death entertainment, basically, for the high-ups, using 2 people, 1 boy and 1 girl, from every single area, from every single district. Oh, it's 12, because it's 12 districts. I knew that. But basically, Katniss jumps in and is like, no, I volunteer as tribute. I volunteer because I don't want my sister to die. And then she just kind of sets things rolling, and it becomes a whole big revolution and everything. So we are going to be rereading this book again this summer. This is going to be, once we finished with Harry Potter, we are moving on to the Hunger Games, I believe. So we will be reading these soon, and I am so excited to read them again. I read this one back when it first came out. Again, I read all these books when they come out, and then I stop, and it's really unfortunate. But I did read this when it first came out, and I really enjoyed it. So I highly recommend it again. The next series I'm going to recommend is a trilogy that was just completed, and that is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This is a murder mystery, at least for the first one it is. I haven't read the other 2 yet, even though I have them. They're right there. Fred and George are watching them. This is a book written in dual perspective or dual timeline. So the first timeline is in history, is a historical one that's in 1936, and it follows the wife and daughter of the owner of this academy. who they end up disappearing. And then the present day, it follows Stevie, who is a detective, or who is an amateur detective who is determined to solve this mystery. And so hijinks ensue and drama, and I read this in one sitting, so I am very excited to get back in and binge read this entire trilogy. It is 3 books, it is complete, and you're set to go. Ready, set, go. Moving on, I have a quartet, I guess, that I'm going to recommend next, and that's Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. The 4th book just came out last year, and that was Capturing the Devil. And so I have read the first 2 books in this series. The 3rd one is on my TBR. It is sitting right on the top shelf of my TBR cart, actually. This book is a historical fiction romance murder mystery of sorts. This one follows Audrey Rose, who is a girl who really wants to work in forensics, even though she is a female in Victorian age London, where women are not allowed to do that sort of thing. And it also follows her new acquaintance, Thomas Cresswell, who has agreed to keep her secret as her uncle is training her to become a forensic scientist. This also takes place at the time when Jack the Ripper is about, and he is going around and hunting people and killing prostitutes. And Audrey Rose decides what better way to prove herself than to solve the mystery. And she basically gets herself into a lot of trouble. And Thomas is there to save her a little bit and then get in the way as well. And it's adorable. They're so cute, and it's really a very sweet series, as weird as that sounds considering there's murder. The next series is actually one of my favorite series of all time, and that is Wild Magic by Tamora Pierce. For those of you who don't know, Tamora Pierce is the author that basically got me back into reading. This book actually is the book that got me back into reading any sort of fantasy, especially after high school and college when I didn't have time to do any reading, which was very unfortunate. But that's the way life goes. This book takes place in a world that Tamora Pierce has created called Tortall. Now, Tortall is a medieval and magical world where there are dragons, there are wizards, there are mages, there are gods, there are all sorts of these magical creatures, kings, queens, knights, all of this stuff. It takes place here. Everything is here. Anything you could want is here. But this is my favorite series in this world that she has created. As of yet, she's still writing in it, which is amazing. This series follows a character named Dane who comes from a small town, doesn't know who her father is, but has this magical, very rare magical gift called Wild Magic, where she is able to communicate with any animal. Now, this does tend to get her into a little bit of trouble. However, she also has learned to live on her own since her entire family has been slaughtered, and she is picked up at a fair. She is picked up by a woman who is the horsemaster for the King's who is the horsemaster for the King's Riders, and her and Anua, who is the horse mistress, they make their way to the capital where Dane gets hired on to work for the king and queen. And it is such a wonderful story. It is so well done. It is real. It deals with different emotions. It deals with real life issues. And I absolutely love this world. So anything in this world, I highly recommend. This series, the Alana series, Terrier, anything like that. Highly recommend any and all of Tamora Pierce's writing. Next, I have a duology that is completed, and that is the Mask of Shadows duology by Lindsay Miller. Now, this was one of my favorite books about 2 years ago. I read it 2 years ago. This one follows a gender fluid main character named Sal, who gets accepted into a program to become the Queen's assassin. And oh my gosh, Sal just kind of is this amazing character that easily switches between male, female, or not. And Sal's just so kick-ass. And basically, this entire first book is all about Sal competing in this tournament in order to become the Queen's assassin. So basically, Sal's doing it for revenge in order to get back at the ones who killed their family, their village, their parents, everything. So they literally took everything from Sal, and now Sal wants revenge. I got a lot of revenge stories here, don't I? Well, it happens. Next book I have is actually now a duology, and that is The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. We did read this book late last year. This is really a very dark but still interesting. It is a fairy tale book full of dark fairy tales. It follows a girl named Alice whose grandmother has just died and her mother has disappeared, and she gets sucked into the Hazelwood, which is supposed to be a mythical place that her grandmother told her about in fairy tales, and it turns out to be a very real place that Alice has to figure out how to get through. So it's very unique world building. I highly recommend this one again, but it's so different from what I expected it to be. And like I said, this is a dark book. It's a dark story. At least I found it to be a dark story. I do have the second book, and I will be reading that one soon as well. This is a duology, and there is a book that will have all of the fairy tales in it that will be coming out, I believe, later this year, and it's called Tales of the Hinterland. So be on the lookout for that one as well. Alright guys, I got 2 left, and then we're done. The next book I'm going to talk about is a duology, and that is Strange the Dreamer by Lonnie Taylor, and the main reason that I picked this one is because history, and this one just takes you literally to another world. This book follows Laszlo Strange, who is a historian slash archaeologist who specializes in this world of Weep. Now, the big thing with the world of Weep is that it was this big prospering civilization, and then all of a sudden everyone forgot its name, and so everyone just calls it Weep. But Laszlo seems to have found a way for it to be real, and he ends up contacting people, getting in contact with people from Weep who reach out to him in order to get him to help them. And it's high fantasy. It's very, very intense, very interesting. This world building in here is amazing, and I cannot recommend this duology enough. And last one, the last series that I have here to recommend to you guys is The Lunar Chronicles. And now I have Stars Above here, which is a collection of short stories that comes at the end. But the reason for that is that because the first book in the series, I lent out to someone and haven't gotten it back yet. So I might have to buy a new one or something because I don't know that I'm getting it back. Basically, this was the one that was on the top of the pile. So I grabbed this one. But The Lunar Chronicles is by Marissa Meyer, and it is probably one of my favorite series. I make a point to reread it every single year, just like with my Tamora Pierce books. I make a point to read these every single year, and they are retellings of classic fairy tales. We have Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, Rapunzel, and Snow White, and all four of the main books in this series are set in a futuristic version of our world, where where robots exist, and it could be, you can be like a cyborg or anything, and our main character, Cinder, is a cyborg, and she is a Cinderella story, and it's all about the relationship between Earth and the moon, the Lunars, and it's this whole world, and guys, it's just so wonderful, and I just want to be part of the Rampion crew, so I just do. There's no denying it, nope. But this series has a hold on my heart, and I just can't let it go. It is great. It is the classic YA series that I think everyone should read. Now that I have talked your ear off for a good probably 20 minutes or so, that is what I have to share with you guys here today. Now is a perfect time to subscribe and hit that like button if you enjoyed what you saw. We post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and if you want to be notified when we post these videos, hit the little bell icon down below. You can find all of our links in the description box below, and that includes our Goodreads, our Instagram, as well as the blogs that we have. So be on the lookout for more videos. We are still doing videos, even though we are not able to be together. We think we have figured out a way to do a screen kind of taping of the three of us doing a book discussion, so we'll see how that goes. We'll keep you updated as we figure it out. But for now, that's what I have, and I hope you guys stay safe and stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye!